Hello and welcome back to In Defense of a Movie Podcast. It's time once again for some jury duty.
Jury duty.
Joining me as always, my co-host extraordinaire, Aaron.
What's up?
Well, Aaron, the SNL 50th anniversary episode came and went, and I regret to inform you, no Coneheads revival. I'm very disappointed.
Did they not listen to our podcast?
Apparently not, or they just
no
didn't
one
have
inform
time.
them? Wow. Rude.
I know. I'm personally offended. I hope you guys enjoyed our last episode. I know it's been a couple weeks since we put out some new stuff. We've been super busy, so we've had to kind of stagger our recording release schedule a bit.
Yeah.
But we're still at it. We're still working on stuff, and we've been kicking around some bigger plans, some bigger picture plans for the podcast, and we're kind of excited to roll those announcements out slowly. But yeah, we're going to hit you with a jury duty episode, catch you up on what we've been watching, make some recommendations, and let's get into it, Aaron. What do you got?
Yeah, so over this last week here, I watched a couple of movies. The first one being, it's called Aftermath.
Good evening, America. The Pentagon used the testimony of a traitor. She lied to save herself and discredit soldiers that fought bravely by her side. They will release my comrades by 9 p.m. Or you'll be fishing bodies out of the river for weeks.
They wired the whole bridge. All of these people, they're gonna die if we don't do something. You really think you can stop them?
I know we can.
You Marine, kid?
Army Ranger.
Once a grunt.
Always a grunt. He knows what he's doing.
But he's got somebody that he cares about.
Find her! Nobody leaves till I say so.
Came out 2024. It is currently on Netflix, and it stars Dylan Sprouse. Now, this movie is very interesting, and I thought I'd only bring it up just because I come from the era of watching Sweet Life of Zach and Cody and Sweet Life on Deck. Sorry. So Dylan and Cole Sprouse have a soft spot in my heart. So I just wanted to watch. Yeah, I wanted to watch it for him and see, like, hey, I haven't seen him acting in years, and decided to check it out. I thought it was a very bold choice of his because he's playing sort of a army veteran that has PTSD, and there's this terrorist group that holds a bridge hostage, and he's one of the hostages, and he decides to go take matters into his own hand, but he was also protecting his little sister. The acting was a little bit cheesy at times. Overall, it was a very standard story, but it was cool to see him acting again. It was also cool to see him in an action movie, and he even had a hand-to-hand fight, like, combat scene. And honestly, I was impressed. It wasn't anything, like a Jackie Chan movie or even a John Wick movie, but you can tell that he certainly trained his ass off and tried to do the best that he could at a fight scene. And honestly, I'm hoping we kind of see him turn into an action star. I just thought that would be really cool, because in this day and age, I feel that action movies and action stars are kind of a dying breed. So I just thought I'd throw some light on this movie. Definitely go check it out. You're not going to be blown away, but support your boy Dylan Sprouse.
That's such an interesting choice. It feels like it came out of nowhere. Hey?
Yeah, really. And so that was kind of my thought, because his brother, Cole Sprouse, has gone the teeny bopper route. Archie... Right. Wait, what's it called? No, Riverdale. There we go. And then there was a few other movies that, that Frankenstein movie.
Yeah.
And so he's been in a lot of kind of teenager movies. So this Aftermath movie was a really interesting choice for Dylan Sprouse. And no, it wasn't great, but I still approve of it because, sometimes you got to take risks, right? Whether they're good or bad. And so I thought this one was good enough and deserved a little love.
Awesome. I will have to check that out.
The other movie that I was going to bring up is The Killer's Game.
How did you end up here?
Work.
What do you do?
Retirement planning.
You should smile more often. It suits you.
I'm afraid I've got some bad news, Joe. It's terminal.
How long do I have?
Best case, 3 months.
I don't want Maisie to see me while it's like that.
What brings you to my door?
I need a contract executed.
Who do you want retired?
Me.
I've thought about doing this for years. You killed my father. This way, I kill you and get paid.
There's been a mistake. They switched your scan with another patient. You're not gonna die, but you might want to get your eyes checked.
I'm canceling the contract.
You think this changes anything? I'm cutting in every hit in Europe, you hear me?
What's going on, Joe?
Maisie, I'm a hitman.
What? You kill people?
That's what an assassin is, yeah. Did he just hit me with a motorcycle? That's just disrespectful.
Starring Dave Bautista. And again, this movie will not knock your socks off. But it was a very interesting movie. The tone of the movie was very, very hard to get. It started out really, really dark, and then it got kind of funny. But there was a buttload of cameos. I would imagine that Dave Bautista had some hand in making this movie, because it sounds like he called in all his like IOUs and pretty much anyone he could get to star in this movie in this movie. It kind of has that feel to it. But the more interesting thing that I wanted to bring up with you, Dan, is that this movie kind of follows a little bit of the same pathway that John Wick follows. And it's really interesting. I feel after the John Wick movies and how successful they have been, we're starting to see a trend of John Wick-esque movies. So a couple off the top of my head is that Beekeeper movie, this movie, and I think there is another Jason Statham movie coming out that's going to be very, very John Wick.
Yeah, not to mention the Ballerina movie coming out, and a bunch of different, like, I don't want to belittle them by saying this, but like female analog John Wick style movies.
Yeah.
I feel like there's been a bunch of different attempts at kind of creating sort of a Joe and Wick, kind of scenario, for lack of a better term. But yeah, John Wick changed the game when it comes to action.
Yeah.
The kind of action, the kind of camera work, where rather than a bunch of shaky cam and a bunch of cuts, people want to see the action. The style's been changed, and you can really see that in a lot of these newer action movies.
Not only that, but I find the biggest change is that people are making movies where the storyline isn't necessarily like overly complicated. It's actually the exact opposite, where it is extremely simplified and relies more on the action and, some sort of heartwarming trait. Like in John Wick, obviously it was his wife passing away, the dog dying, him just trying to become a good guy. In Killer's Game, it was the fact that he was dying and he just met like the love of his life kind of thing. Beekeeper, it was the bees, or like, you know what I mean? So it's just, there's always the trope of something that tugs at your heartstrings that makes you instantly sympathize with whoever the main character is, or whoever is going to be doing the mass murdering.
Novocaine with Jack Quaid that's just about to come out, or if it hasn't already, where same kind of thing, John Wick style action. He can't feel pain. He's going to rescue his girlfriend or something. Very, very thin plot, but the action's cranked up.
Yeah. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. Honestly, I think we should support it, because I think for too long they've been only making movies that are a guaranteed success at the box office. So we got to support these weirdo action movies, so we keep getting them. Because, for every few garbage ones, there's one just absolute gem.
Yeah. I got to admit, though, sometimes I do miss the over-the-top John Woo style action of like spinny slow motion, dual wielding, just that old school, like Hong Kong style action film vibe that made its way to North America. Sometimes I miss that, like movies like the Underworld movies and stuff like that. There's still a soft spot in my heart for that kind of action as well.
Hey,
but
we got
it's not
Karate
being
Kid
made
coming out.
anymore. That's true. Yeah. It's just not being made like that anymore. So it's interesting. Now it's very grounded and realistic and gritty, and the actors are putting in the hours and actually training with these, with the weapons they're using and the martial arts they're using. And it's pretty cool. I feel like a lot of that too, credit to Keanu Reeves for really raising the bar. Keanu Reeves has raised the bar in action movies twice in his career, once with The Matrix and another time with John Wick. And both of those movies were endlessly mimicked, afterwards. People trying to find that same magic sauce that they found in those two films. And it's so cool that one actor got to, make that mark twice in the same career.
Yeah, totally. That is a great point you bring up, Dan. I didn't even think of that, but totally.
Keanu Reeves did for, fighting and gunplay what Arnold did for
male pregnancy. Sorry, I like to guess the wrong answers. Well, Dan, has there been any movies that you have been watching?
Yeah, I wanted to bring up a show. It's a Star original. It's called Paradise.
Call it in. Our people only. Now.
Very important people are very upset. They've got questions. You were the last person to see the president alive. Did you kill him?
No.
Xavier, is a part of you happy that Cal is dead? I have a message from the president. He said if something should happen to him, I should find you.
Everything's gonna be looked at from here on out.
They're about to tell everybody that Cal died of natural causes. The president loved you. The relentless man who never stopped. I see a man who loves his family. Children are worth protecting. We have a functional system in place. You need to leave this alone.
Bailey, I need you to do exactly what I ask right now. My fellow Americans, you're aware of the situation we now face. And I want to tell you the truth. I don't know what to do.
It stars Sterling K. Brown, James Marsden, and Julianne Nicholson primarily. There's a great supporting cast. It's quite large, so I'm not going to rattle off all of them. But Aaron, I watched this series kind of on a whim. Like, the trailer looked very generic. It's essentially about a whodunit of who killed the president. James Marsden plays this very crass, alcoholic, kind of low-key racist president who carries a lot of baggage and guilt. And Sterling K. Brown plays this guy named Xavier Collins, and he's the head of his security detail. And he's trying to figure out who did it. Now, I'm being very careful in the way I talk about this because it's the kind of show where essentially every single episode has some incredibly spoilerable moment. It's a brilliantly done thriller. The trailers don't do it justice, and the reason they don't is because they're trying to really hide what the show is actually about, and I won't spoil it here, but the first episode of this has one of the strongest hooks. Like, it's one of the strongest pilots I've seen in quite some time, and it doesn't fall victim to that thing you see in shows where it kind of grinds to a halt to pedal back the action or pedal back the story. Every episode is putting layer on top of layer and building this big mystery and adding new character dynamics and putting backstory in, but in an appropriate way. And Sterling K. Brown has never been better, and I think he's just fantastic in the show. James Marsden is great as always. The supporting cast is so excellent. And it's hard to compare it to anything else, honestly, because it takes some really hard turns that will, guaranteed there is something in this show that'll catch you by surprise. And every single episode, it's almost done, actually. I think it only has 1 or 2 episodes left, but I wholeheartedly recommend it. It's political intrigue. It's got really great character performances, a lot of great drama, a lot of great mystery atop of mystery, but it has this insane hook to it that they've hidden in the marketing materials, and I don't want to spoil it, but It is so worth watching.
I am very intrigued.
Yeah, it's a fantastic show. I think the only thing I don't like about it is it has a lot of, that trend of like shows having cover songs of famous songs, and the covers are just like kind of like low-key, depressing sounding versions of them.
Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it has like one or two of those per episode, and it fits with the narrative of the show, and there's a reason why it kind of happens in the way that it does. But it's still so annoying because I hate that. I hate it so much. But anyway, great show. I'm really excited to, legitimately looking forward to it each week and wondering how it's going to wrap up. So far, this is probably the best TV show I've seen this year.
Cool.
Yeah. Check it out. Check it out. If you have Disney Plus or Hulu, I think it's on there. Pretty sure it's on there.
Awesome. Well, Dan, should we get into the meat and potatoes? Potato.
Let's do it. We've both seen the latest Marvel offering, Captain America, Brave New World.
Yeah.
You asked for me. Here I am. You want to help me? Is there anything you remember? Whatever this is, Cap, be careful.
This was a coordinated terrorist attack, sir.
I was a wartime general. Now I'm a wartime president. Your inner circle's been compromised. Let me fix it. Watch yourself. You're not Steve Rogers. You're right. I'm not. Wait for it. Captain America. You ever ask yourself, who's playing who? I don't want a variable out there that I can't control.
Stop!
Captain America, caught without his wings.
Captain
You like to play dress up and blindly execute the state's orders.
Don't say I didn't warn you.
What if this is a trap? You don't even know what this is.
Whoa, cool. It's all in a day's work for Capitan America.
What's with the Italian accent, Capitan America?
Well, you see, America is a big pot of melting people.
Nice shield.
You want to hold it? Now, you'll excuse me.
Oh, please, don't slap me. You're my daddy. You're my daddy.
Aaron, what'd you think? I'll let you go first.
Overall, there's some glaring things to me, but I'm genuinely trying to be optimistic about it.
Yeah, fair.
Just because, I don't know, it's a new Captain America. I do like Anthony Mackie as an actor, and honestly, I hope he succeeds in this role. So for that main reason, I was very optimistic about it. The other thing I was kind of thinking is like I do shit on Disney quite a bit, especially when it comes to Disney Star Wars. But Marvel, I'm a little bit less. I just kind of pick on them. They're the easy target. But at the end of the day, Anthony Mackie is still an actor who is trying to make a career for himself. And I do like him as an actor. And if I was in his position, I would probably also accept a job from Disney. So I'm just trying to have an open mind about it. But overall, what I found is that I didn't mind the show. I thought it brought up some interesting concepts. And then when I went and saw this movie last night, I thought that it wasn't anything that was like blow your socks off, but it was definitely an okay movie. It was good enough. I really like the fact that they went back and, they kind of referenced the Edward Norton Hulk movie, or they did reference that one.
Yeah, very much.
They also referenced the Eternals.
Yeah.
And there was a few other things that they referenced that were things that I feel that have been long forgotten in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, because there's been so many new things that have been introduced at the time. And to me, I really enjoyed this because they are trying to make this a cohesive universe, right? So everything makes sense. And there was a few things, like there was a few glaring issues in my mind, not with this movie or Captain America, but just in the Marvel Cinematic Universe in a general, right? I remember when the Eternals came out and the thing was coming out of the ocean there. And I'm sitting there going like, you just had this like Thanos come to Earth, snap his fingers. Are you not wary of like alien spaceships and things like entering your atmosphere? Or if there is something going on in the planet, aren't you going to have some newly formed task force to like go and figure out what it is? And so when the Eternals came out, there was none of that. They just kind of made a movie and it did its thing. And there was like, it didn't even seem like it was in the Marvel cinematic universe, apart from, you know, the characters being inspired from Marvel Comics. Yeah. So in this movie, they referenced that. They didn't even have to reference the Edward Norton Hulk movie, but they did, which was really sweet because I feel like they did a really nice job of tying that movie into the universe. There was another thing, and I would like your opinion on this too, Dan, but I have a lot of mixed opinions about just because he doesn't take the super soldier serum. And it makes sense. When you watch the show, you're at the end of the show, you're kind of like, yeah, okay, I'm glad he didn't take it. But then as you're kind of watching the show, you're just like, man, he's got to fight, like he's got to be a symbol, right? Like he's got to be this person who is righting the ship. And, you know, and you're kind of like, maybe he should have took the super soldier's serum. And, that's a bit of a tongue twister. In the movie, he questions, like, maybe I should have taken it because, you know, he's like, things are going on that's bigger than me. And I thought that was like a really interesting kind of avenue that they were exploring. And I'm very curious if at some point there's something that happens and he does take it, because I do enjoy the fact that he is not does not have any superpowers. That, you know, he's kind of like an OP Batman, or well, maybe just another version of Batman. You know,
he's just covered in technology.
Yeah, exactly. And it was really cool to watch him fight the way that he did. But you can't help but think that. I make the comparison to Batman because so many times they've done this like, okay, if Batman is going to be this insane vigilante, he needs to also be insane in the head, right? Like he needs to devote himself to training, to becoming the Batman, to like surpassing all his like mental and physical limits and things, and, you know, and just essentially become inhuman in order to keep up with these things. And they really paint a picture of that. And I don't necessarily, like, I do get that a little bit from Anthony Mackie, but like not, sorry, I should say Captain America, but I don't get it to the same degree. And that's what I mean. Like when you're watching him fight, like, you know, you can't help but think about it in a rational way. And you're like, you know, how many professional fighters are out there, and they get like a thing called being punch drunk, where they like start to get really slow and like non-responsive because they've just been hit in the heads too many times. And this is a guy, I know he has like his super suit or whatever you want to call it, which I would imagine gives him some sort of armor, but overall, I don't know, like at the end of the day, he's just a regular dude, and, you know, fighting superheroes as a regular dude will take your toll on your body. And so I can't help but like have that in the back of my head, like the entire time that I'm watching these movies. So I'm very curious if they will eventually introduce it again and give him the option to do it. Like maybe it'll be like, he takes it in order to save somebody's life, you know, one of those classic tropes. But
yeah, I see what you're saying. It's like he almost didn't have enough depth.
Yeah. There's so many references to the Steve Rogers Captain America and of how he's trying to fill those shoes.
Yeah.
But it's kind of weird in the sense that you also get that it's Anthony Mackie trying to fill Chris Evans' shoes in like the real life as well. So there's this kind of dual thing that's kind of happening. It's where it's a little bit meta, but also the same thing is happening in the movie as well, which I thought was really interesting. And I don't know if you found that at all, but
yeah, I think my overall opinion of this movie was it was a very like I hate using this term, but it was a very mid Marvel movie for me.
Yeah.
But I think it was a pretty important, larger piece of the overall puzzle that they're building. The problem I had with this movie was meta watching it.
Yeah.
Because I've been following the production of this movie quite closely for what seems like years now.
Mm-hmm.
There was so much information about this movie widely available that a lot of different people were covering, from YouTubers to articles, major news outlets. The movie was largely reshot.
Mm-hmm.
Some people rumored up to 2 times based on terrible test screenings.
Yeah, I heard
multiple
that.
storylines were cut. There was multiple characters that were cut altogether. Giancarlo Esposito was added at the last minute and kind of just shoehorned in there. So much of this movie felt pieced together. There was even a shot near the end of the movie when he's fighting Red Hulk where Anthony Mackie, for just like a split second, is inexplicably bald, as if it was either an unfinished visual effect or a different cut of the film where he was bald.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the other thing that added to this meta quality was, sure, you're stitching together the Incredible Hulk movie, which was pretty cool because I haven't thought about that movie in quite some time.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is the actor that originally played Thunderbolt Ross passed away and was recast as Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
The actor that played the Incredible Hulk, Edward Norton, obviously was recast.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was really hard going into this movie to not meta watch it, knowing so much about the production behind it and knowing what it took to bring it to the screen. The overall budget of this movie is reported to be northwards of $400 million before marketing because of how many times it was reshot.
Yeah.
Principal photography on this movie finished like over a year ago, or maybe even in 2023, actually, from what I read online.
Mm-hmm.
So the amount of tweaking and meddling, it just felt like so much of this movie was dependent on other things falling into line. Like the whole idea that the Celestial was made of adamantium and that it was an arms race to do with adamantium. I'm not even confident that plot line existed until Deadpool and Wolverine was a lock and a go. You know what I mean? Like I feel like so much of this movie was piecemealed together as it went. And so sitting there in the theater where not a lot of people are engaging with the film, like it wasn't a big laughing movie, like some of the Thor movies or something like that. It was very serious for the most part.
Oh, very serious.
I just found myself not really engaging with it in the way that I wanted to. Now, there was tons of like bright spots. Like I think Anthony Mackie is at his best when he is being funny. I think he's a very funny actor. He has great comedic timing. And he's been able to use that throughout the entire MCU, especially when he's playing opposite a more stoic character like Bucky. But for some reason in this movie, they just gutted most of his humor and his lighter side. It shows up in parts, especially near the end. He says some pretty funny stuff. But they gave like the plucky comedicness to Danny Ramirez as the new Falcon. And it felt like a weird tonal shift where they're trying to change Anthony Mackie's portrayal to be more serious and to be more like Steve Rogers.
Yeah, I think that's very intentional.
I don't like it. I feel like you should let Anthony Mackie. I feel like you should let his Sam Wilson be Sam Wilson. Like how many movies has he been in now? Like half a dozen?
I feel like he's the longest serving member right now.
Yeah. So I found myself distracted by so much of the behind the scenes stuff. Whenever Sam Wilson cracked a joke, it landed, and the audience laughed, and it's not like it has to be a funny movie, but when you fundamentally change a character's personality to fit with the narrative of the movie, and the movie is interconnecting all these pieces of other Marvel projects that are kind of fractured in themselves because of the recast and everything else, it's a tough one. It's a tough one for me to wrap my head around.
Yeah.
It was like when they recast War Machine. It was the first real time where the MCU showed its fallibility, where it's like, okay, this isn't like Harry Potter. Like, some actors will have to come and go. That's just the reality of the business,
Yeah.
Especially when people pass away. That's just, it's tragic, super tragic. And the MCU's been going on for so long that kind of stuff, unfortunately,
it's gonna
is going to happen more and more.
Yeah.
And I guess this movie just had too much at once. Liv Tyler, I don't associate her with Mark Ruffalo's Hulk. I associate her with Edward Norton's Hulk.
Yeah.
And I can't really get past that. And I don't associate Thunderbolt Ross with Harrison Ford, I associate him with William Hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And so it took me out of it. I enjoyed it more than I thought it would, but there was some bizarre editing where things were obviously cut together. A lot of jump cuts where there was one point in time where I literally audibly was like, what just happened? You know, a couple of times where I was really taken out of the movie wondering what actually happened in the edit process. And so I will say this, to be positive, for everything that this movie went through to get to the screen, I think it actually landed pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
And people seem to be enjoying it. It seems to be doing well. We'll see where it ends.
There was a lot riding on this movie.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, Anthony Mackie has kind of had a few failure to launch projects, or he's stepped in the role of a few shows that haven't gone especially well.
Mm-hmm.
And this one, I felt like they should have had more confidence in him, because I feel like they didn't for some reason.
I don't know about that. I personally think that it's kind of good that they stayed away from his humorous side, just because typically in your main character, you're never going to want them to be the comedic relief. And before, when he was the Falcon, he wasn't a main character. And so he provided that element of comedic relief. And now we got a new Falcon to, provide the comedic relief. So in my mind, it kind of makes sense, because that's the interesting thing about this movie, because as I was watching it, I really got the sense of man, it would suck to be Captain America, just because of all the BS that he has to deal with. He has to deal with political BS. He has to, not only that, but he also has to present himself in a certain way so that he can be willing to, work with governments, where Steve Rogers, Captain America, was like, no, this is what I believe, and this is what I'm going to do, and he goes rogue or whatever. But Anthony Mackie's Captain America is very different, where he's trying to bridge the gap between, government and Captain America and superhero individuals. So that's where I thought he really shined.
Yeah.
There is a political dance that had to be, that is being danced in this movie by Captain America, right? And if I was to compare that to Steve Rogers, I don't feel that he had the necessary, capability of juggling all of those, all of the political beliefs. And that's why I really ended up liking this Captain America, because it is more serious and there is a lot of political issues that need to be juggled. And I don't know. Yeah. I thought he did a really good job. And that's why I said that this movie kind of also mirrored what was going on in real life. And it's just about this bridge that we have to make towards our government, in the fact that for so many years that they have broken the people's trust, right? They have just basically done everything to maximize profits and also ensure whatever their own personal goals were. And it's the same thing in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And so we see this iteration of Captain America try to break down these walls. And so I don't know. It kind of worked for me. I didn't nearly pay as much of attention to it as you did in terms of, continuity errors. I also did not pay attention to any behind the scenes stuff, because I just number one, the thing that I know about every single Marvel movie is that if you pay attention to them filming, you will be mad at some point, or any of the behind the scenes stuff. I do have one giant bone to pick with this movie.
And a giant red bone.
you freaking hit the nail on the head, Dan. Don't get me wrong, it was cool seeing Red Hulk. It was, that whole entire storyline was pretty sweet. I just wish we didn't see the Red Hulk in commercials, I wish that there was no mention about the Red Hulk whatsoever, and it was tight-lipped, and then when the first time seeing Red Hulk would have been on the big screen, and it would have been a little bit of a mystery there that, that he's kind of unfolding. And if they would have done that, I think this movie would have been, it would have, given it a little bit more suspense. And so that was probably about the biggest thing that I had an issue with.
Yeah, well, I really regret knowing as much about this movie as I did going into it and for following it like I did. And I was kind of kicking myself a lot, you know. Meta watching movies is never really that fun.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about this, Aaron. There was a time not too long ago, like back in the 90s, where the first time you saw a movie trailer would be on the big screen in the theater. And sometimes that was the only time you saw that trailer. And it was this totally different experience than trailers are now. Because when you sat down in the theater, you wouldn't even know what trailers were coming at you.
Yeah.
It was a total surprise. And studios were able to use this to their advantage. And they had us in the palm of their hands to really tease us and drop that title or do what they had to do, right?
Yeah.
Whereas now, you already know what the trailer is for before you click on it on YouTube. And by the time you go sit in the theater, you've already seen this movie trailer, you know, once or twice. You've seen it on your phone, you know, while taking a dump, or you've seen it in a car while you're waiting for your friend in the store or whatever, right? Like, we've lost this element of surprise that we used to have back then. Imagine the only thing you knew about a movie that you're really looking forward to was the one trailer that you saw at your local theater 6 months in advance before the movie, and you barely knew a thing about it before going into it. It was an entirely different experience than it is nowadays. To say, watching all the YouTube videos, reading all the comments, knowing how knowing what the reshoots were and who was in it, who wasn't, who was casted, who wasn't cast. Even this movie had a different title at one point in time. It was called New World Order.
Was that a thing?
Yeah.
I'm glad they didn't go with that. Just Kevin Nash and Hulk Hogan. That's dating ourselves right now.
So yeah, I'm kicking myself, and I'm not going to do this again. Not with another Marvel movie.
That's exactly why I stopped.
I'm just going to let them roll over me. I'm going to go in with no expectations. I'm not going to follow the behind the scenes stuff. I'm just going to sit down and try to let myself be surprised. Because yeah, Red Hulk would have been a really, really cool third act twist, right? But we didn't get that. It was the posters, it was the trailers. We saw virtually every scene from that fight before we even sat down in the theater, which is a bummer.
Next one, Thunderbolts.
Yeah.
I wonder how that's going to be.
That looks pretty good.
Yeah.
That looks really, really good.
We'll have to have another chat when that one comes out.
Well, Aaron, should we announce the next movie we're going to tackle?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. We will be defending
Gentlemen Broncos.
Gentlemen Broncos by director Jared Hess.
Yes, this movie is, how do I even put it? Weird? I don't know. If you are fans of Napoleon Dynamite, Nacho Libre, then this movie is going to be for you.
The Gentlemen Broncos goes back to 2009, and it's rated 20% on Rotten Tomatoes with a 45% critical rating. And in a lot of ways, this is sort of a spiritual successor to his Napoleon Dynamite movie.
Very Jared Hess-esque. That's a weird thing.
He also directed Nacho Libre, which, Aaron, I didn't realize this, but Nacho Libre is at 39% on Rotten Tomatoes with only a 55% audience rating, which is insane. It's probably one of our favorite movies.
Yeah.
That's wild to me. And this is kind of an interesting movie to look back on because I learned that Jared Hess is actually directing this Minecraft movie that's about to come out, which looks nothing like Gentlemen Broncos. So it's going to be really interesting to go back and watch this. I remember you and I and some friends watched this movie for the first time and just thought it was hilarious. And we still quote it to this day. So I'm really excited to look back on it.
It is very good.
I don't know exactly when this episode's going to drop because we've been super, super busy.
Yes.
But we will get it done as soon as we can.
My apologies. We are very, very busy men. And I would like to get episodes out a lot more, but we are just, life happens. So at least expect one a month.
All right.
Minimum.
If you enjoyed today's episode, feel free to check out our social media links in the show notes.
Yeah.
And please leave us a comment or a rating. It really helps our show grow and beat the algorithms. So until next time, thank you so much for listening, and we will see you on the next episode of In Defense of a Movie Podcast.
Bye.